going on, you guys? I'm Zach. Welcome back to One Grunt's Point of View. Today we're going to be going over iron sights and why they're important. So, iron sights. Now, today we're going to be going over a few things. First thing's going to be proper sight alignment, because I feel like as a newer shooter coming into the game, you get a rifle. Most of your rifles are going to have a set of iron sights. Okay? Most of your pistols as well are going to have, all you gun Nazis out there again, iron sights, right? These are suppressor height Ameriglow night sights on a Glock 45. And this, if I can do it, that is your proper sight alignment. Now, I know some people, when they are learning to shoot with a pistol, your proper sight alignment, the way that I was always coached coming up through the military. Now, I knew how to shoot a pistol before I joined the military, so it wasn't really a new thing for me. But for some people, proper sight alignment, they get coached to build a castle. Now, building a castle is going to look one of two ways to people that are beginning. Now, speaking further upon the building a castle, a lot of times what I've seen in coaching people how to shoot pistols is this is the proper sight alignment that I'm trying to portray, but this is what they envision building a castle, you know, because you have the taller pieces around like the normal castle wall kind of thing. So if we focus on this as the proper sight alignment for our pistols, if you notice, they're all level. Now, the level point on the top of the pistol, so if I use this pointer here, which is just an Allen key, but if you notice the level point of the top of the front sight post is where the round is going to impact, right? So this level point, regardless of where the red dot in your pistol sights, depending on what kind of sights you have, if you have nighttime sights or, Ameriglow with the orange front sight, regardless of where this red dot is pointed, the top of the sight is the impact of the round. So the dots are there just to draw your eye and help you level the sights, which is why, as you see here, the two rear sights are still in the same position, but the front sight is now higher, which means the rounds are going to impact higher. So with pistols, right, that's how you have to line your sights up. Now with a rifle, this is my BCM 12.5 SBR. With a rifle, let me see if I can move you to where you'll be able to see it. I have not practiced this. So that, right, is your proper sight alignment. Now, let me bring you onto the paper real quick, and I'll explain it a little more. Now, for rifles, it's essentially the same thing of you're lining up something in the rear with the thing in the front, right? So this is your proper sight alignment. You've got your rear sight aperture and then your front sight post, which I know is crudely drawn. And then at the tip of your front sight post, all this being level, the tip of your front sight post is where the rounds will impact. Now for myself, I use a 6 o'clock hold. So normally I'll try to put the tip of the front sight post just slightly under the target, call it lollipopping, if you will. And then that way I know that the rounds are going to impact into the target. So I can always see in case that my front sight post is obscuring my vision. Now here is some examples of improper sight alignment. Now you're going to see these from time to time, and that's fine. If you take a shot here, your rounds are going to impact low to the right, low left. And honestly, it's just something that happens, and we're going to go over that a little bit more. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, the biggest thing with this, right, is it all comes down to training. You can train to any standard that you are going to have on your specific piece of kit. Now, I did an entire range outing, shot about, I don't know, maybe 700, 800 rounds of just iron sights. And that's what you saw in the intro, that was our iron sight. I called it the iron sight day because it's been, who knows how fucking long it's been since I have shot just iron sights. Iron sights are normally something I have on every gun as a backup, right? We all are going to eventually, the further deep you go into the rabbit hole of buying and owning weapons, you are always going to have a set of iron sights on most of your guns. And it's just this stigma that we have as a community of, well, if my optic goes down, I need a way to be able to shoot. So for me, that is a primary reason of why I'm going to have them. So speaking on reasons of why I keep a set of iron sights on what I like to call my go-to gun, right? So if anything were to happen, I don't know, the government decides to go nuts, civil unrest, I just need a weapon to protect my family. I keep a set of iron sights on all of my guns that are what I would essentially call fighting rifles. Now, these fighting rifles, the reason that I keep the iron sights on, number one, they are mechanically zeroed to the weapon, right? So mechanical zero, I don't have to worry about something bumping these, and, you know, some optics, some red dots, depending on your budget, depending on how much you spend, depending on the company, depending on just the overall durability of the optic, some of those optics do not hold zero very well, especially under rough conditions. Being mechanically zeroed, these iron sights are going to hold zero. You bump them around, they normally will stay out of the way. You don't even know that they're there. I've been beating on these things for a while, and I took them out for the footage that we got from the intro, and I only had to do a confirmation zero, and they were still zeroed. So I've had these things on for maybe a year and a half now, and I haven't shot with them other than to zero them and then put the optics that I've had on, and I've swapped optics like 7 or 8 times. So that's like a huge thing for me, is just you can rely on these if you needed them. Battery life. They don't need batteries. Another perk. Batteries get expensive. What's up, dog? This is Violet, everybody. So they don't need batteries. So with not needing batteries, you know, what's going to fail on this? Maybe the mounting screws. I mean, if you don't over torque them and you don't constantly take them on and off, on and off, on and off, the mounting screws, again, I've had these mounted for a year, and this rifle has definitely not been like babied. So like, I don't see a problem with, you know, having them just there. You know, nothing happens to them. So there's nothing that's going to die on these, right? Another big thing, right? Elevation adjustments. I don't know if you can see it. Try to zoom in a little bit for you. But on the rear of these are Magpul Imbus Pros. I have an elevation adjustment on my rear sight. So currently it's set at 200. I zeroed for 50 yards, so 5200 zero. Now with the 5200 zero, I can crank this to 300, and I can reasonably get hits at 300 with iron sights. I have shot this out to 400 with iron sights in, you know, previous time, and it's not that difficult, right? So you dial it up to 4, you shoot. If you don't hit it, you adjust your point of aim, and you hit the target, hopefully. So it's nothing too crazy, but that is something that you don't see on like a red dot, right? Red dots, once they're zeroed, you have to know your physical holdovers for each of your distances, whereas these are dialable, right? Kind of like an optic. Cons.
Credibility out the door. What am I doing again? You're going.
So if you're trying to acquire these, let's say you're doing CQB, competition, speed, anything where you need to acquire a quick sight picture, I'm not going to say these are the worst possible thing, because obviously something is better than nothing, but I would definitely say you are at a disadvantage if you were going straight into a gunfight with someone with a red dot. And here's why. These are going to be harder to acquire under stress, as in some kind of awkward position, or when you need to just get a flash sight picture, than a red dot will. as you know, a red dot is essentially, it's a laser pointer that is being projected on a piece of glass, and it's like inside of a tube, or maybe it's something like this. That red dot does not have what some would call, I mean, most of them don't have parallax, which is where you move your head and it moves the target like with the dot kind of thing, kind of doing this, as well as it doesn't have an eye relief. Now, contrary to popular belief, iron sights do have eye relief. You back your head up far enough and it becomes extremely hard to acquire these. If you had this, up here, it's just like with a pistol. A lot of people want a longer slide on a pistol because the sight radius. The sight radius allows for it to be easier for you to pick up the front sight within the rear sight. So if you're going into a gunfight and you have to, so you're here and you're at the low ready or you're high ready, whatever you're doing, and you snap the gun into your pocket, as soon as you need to acquire that sight picture, it's going to be a little more difficult for you to get what I call a flash sight picture, which is as soon as you bring that optic or the red dot, whatever it is, the iron sights into your view, you see a flash of whatever your sighting system is. So like your front sight, the dot, the reticle, whatever. And that is, once that is like reasonably in center mass, you take your shot because it shows you where the rounds are going to start going. With these, it's a little more complicated because you have to align two things onto a target. So it's kind of like the rifle's going to sort of be like this. And as soon as I need to be able to fire, I have to like quickly do this and then find my target. It takes a little bit more time. With training, anything can be accomplished, but it's gonna take more time.
Do another one. 119. All right. Do another one because that angle wasn't that great. Don't really see the muzzle.
That was probably the fastest one I've ever done. I'm not gonna lie. That's the fastest one I've ever done. Now, another con would be it's going to be slower for you as the new shooter or the experienced shooter that's only been shooting on red dots. It's going to take more time to get good with iron sights than it does to get good with a red dot. It just is. It takes more repetitions to get good at using these than it does a red dot. Because a red dot, all I got to do, put the dot on the target, pull the trigger. I'm done. These, I have to align sights and know where I zeroed because, again, they're mechanical. You're not just putting the dot on, the red circle and you're shooting. Some people zero their iron sights at the 6 o'clock hold like I do mine. So you have to know where to hold as well as, and I mean, that can, I guess, be said with the red dot as well. But with these, I'm aligning and thinking, not just pointing and shooting. So that could be something. For all you new shooters out there, your first rifle, when you buy it complete from a factory, is most likely going to come with a set of iron sights. My recommendation, use them. Get good with them. Make sure you understand how they work because they are something that is going to be, it's your intro to shooting. And if you don't know how to use them, you're not going to enjoy it as much. If you get good with these, you can learn anything else extremely quick. This is probably the longest thing to learn. And a good example of this, in the Marine Corps, we no longer teach shooters iron sights. We teach shooters on the ACOG. And when I came in the Marine Corps in 2015, I was taught on iron sights, but I qualified on an ACOG. And that was because it's easier for you as a shooter. And I've been using guns and shooting since I was like 10. But for someone that comes and they've never been around guns and they've never had to shoot guns before, for someone that comes from that type of background, it's so much easier to give them something where all you have to explain to them is, do you see that red that red like circle, put the red circle on the target and pull the trigger. Whereas with this, we have to explain, you know, where to put your face and all this other stuff and alignment and how at different ranges you're going to have to do different things. And it's like the ACOG, it literally spelled it out for you. It was the chevron reticle whenever I was coming through. They've changed it like 3 or 4 times now. I think we're using like a variable power optic on the IARs now, which is cool. But when I came in, we started using prisms, and the chevron reticle, tip of the chevron was 100, the crotch of the chevron was 200, the tip of the post was 3, and then you had a stadia line for every range past 300 meters, and it was numbered. So it's dummy proof. You put that number on whatever that distance is, and you pull the trigger. Whereas with these, back in the day, and they had the little, like the carry handle sights, which some people, if you've played Call of Duty, you've probably seen them. But like the carry handle sights, it had the little twisty knobs on the side. Some of those didn't have numbers on them. They had like certain numbers on them, of course, but some of them weren't specifically mapped out for you to dial every single time. Sometimes you had to know your holds. So the ACOGs were just simpler to learn. Red dots are just going to be simpler to learn for you as a new shooter coming into this. All right. Now, finally, we're going to go over why I have not gone away from using iron sights. I wholeheartedly believe that if you get good with iron sights, you will be good with everything else. You are going to have iron sights on a pistol, regardless of the coolest, most badass little competition gun that you buy. Your pistol is going to have iron sights on it. And that is because that it's the nature of where we're at right now. It's 2021, but pistols are still all coming out of the box with a set of iron sights. So proper sight alignment with iron sights is going to be crucial when you're learning how to shoot a pistol. With a rifle, most companies, as I said, are going to have these. So if I am able to go and pick up any weapon, regardless of the optic or the setup, and understand the fundamentals of utilizing a set of iron sights, I'm going to understand how to shoot anything else. And that to me is crucial. For you as the beginner, you're going to be using a set of these at some point coming out of the gate. And it would behoove you to just go ahead and take the time on them. If you don't want to, again, that's fine. If you're looking for a one-stop, I want to get good as fast as I can, get a red dot. Red dots are the beginning to the end of optics. Once you play with a red dot, you're going to go into this optics rabbit hole, and it's just deeper and deeper. Like I just bought the Vortex 1 to 10. Never in my life would I have thought that I'd have spent that on an optic. But I'm looking for the next thing to improve, my game. But it all stems back to these. And the reason I keep these, which that was a really long rant, and I'm sorry, but the reason that I keep these on my gun, same reason I talked about in the pros. These don't need batteries, and they don't die. These don't get knocked off zero most of the time. This right here is amazing. It's a force multiplier. This right here, the primary arms, it's a 3 times prism optic. Force multiplier, just like the ACOG was for me when I was, coming into the Marine Corps. But what happens when the glass is shattered in that optic? What happens when you're in a gunfight and you take a round through the side of it? Or likely what will happen to most of the newer people, just something every day. What if you're getting out of your car and you drop it on the ground? Glass shatters, people. It does. It's the nature of the beast. Sometimes Murphy's Law is always going to have a say in what happens. And if you drop it and your glass breaks and you needed that gun, right here, these are not going to fail you. They're not going to break. They're not, as long as you obviously get a good set. If you get a $20 airsoft set of iron sights, they're plastic sights. They're not iron sights. Get a set of these if you have them and get good with them. They will pay dividends in the long run as you progress into your getting better at shooting kind of career. So with that all being said, I really appreciate you tuning in to another One Grunt's POV video. And I really appreciate all the people that watched our last video and all the subscribers that we got off of that. I know one of you is my cameraman, so all 4 of you, I appreciate you. Hopefully we'll spread the word. If you did like what you saw, please consider subscribing. Maybe throw a comment down there in the comment section. Our comment section on the last video is literally, non-existent. So let's get in there. Tell me what I can do better. Tell me what I can improve on for the videos. That way we can bring you the best content possible. And as always, I'm Zach. Thanks for stopping by. This has been One Grunt's Point of View.